San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Atlanta Braves in the final game of a four-game series. It's the second game of a split doubleheader today in Atlanta. Our starting pitching matchup for our second game today for the Braves, left-hander Chris Sale, and for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt here inside our San Diego studios. First pitch in Atlanta is coming up at 3:20. In the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll check in with Padres third baseman here in Game 2, Donovan Solano. We'll talk with Jesse Agler in just a few minutes, and we'll also hear from Padres hitting coach Victor Rodriguez. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971, with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres enter Game 2 of this doubleheader with a 25-24 record. Padres have had an interesting week. They got swept by the Rockies in a 3-game series beginning last Monday, but they've bounced back to beat the Braves on Friday, then Sunday, then the first game of this doubleheader here today to win 3 in a row. Braves, meanwhile, enter Game 2 of this doubleheader at 26-17. Braves have now lost 4 games in a row, one to the Cubs on Wednesday, now 3 to the Padres over the course of this series. How about this? The Braves have not lost 5 consecutive games since September of 2017. That is what the Padres are going to try to hand the Braves today. Their first 5-game losing streak since 2017. It was one heck of a comeback for the Padres in the opener of today's twin billing. Let's take a look back.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The game earlier today did not get off to a great start for the Padres. The Braves got to Dylan Cease in the first inning, back-to-back singles to start the game. There were runners on first and third for Matt Olson.
First and third, one away, 2-0 to Olson. Here's the pitch. That is lined into right field and a base hit. Acuna will come in to score easily. Fernando gets to it quickly, and Wright fires into second base. That'll hold Olson to a single, but it's an RBI single, and the Braves have a 1-0 lead here in the bottom of the first inning, as Atlanta has their first lead since the first inning on Friday night.
Later in the inning, it was Michael Harris.
Cease, long pause of the belt, delivers, and first pitch swinging, little floater into shallow left, and that jam shot will get down for a base hit. Albies comes in to score, and the Brave lead is now 2-0.
2 runs, 4 hits against Cease in the first inning. Padres still trail 2-0. Heading bottom 3, Marcell Ozuna added on.
Although there is more stuff now. 3-2 hit really well out to deep left field. Profar is going back to chase it. He's at the wall looking up, and it's going to go. Home run, Marcell Ozuna, his team leading 13th of the season. And the Braves in front now 3-0 here in the third.
Matt Olson then went deep to make it back-to-back home runs. It was a 4-0 game. Braves would ultimately make it 5-0. Padres trailed 5-0 as we went to the 5th inning. Brave starter Reynaldo Lopez took that lead into the 5th. Padres got on the board. Manny Machado led off with a double, went to third base on a bunt, then scored on an RBI ground out from Jackson Merrill. It was 5-1. Dylan Cease went just 4 innings in this game, 5 runs given up. Lopez took the mound for the top of the 7th inning. The Braves still ahead 5-1. Padres got 2 on with nobody out. Lopez came out. Lefty A.J. Minter came in. There were 2 outs and still runners on first and second for Jackson Merrill.
Runners lead. Minter ready. The pitch is lined sharply into center field and a base hit. Profar rounding third on his way. Here comes the throw from Harris. It is high and not in time. Nice piece of hitting, Jackson Merrill. An RBI single, and now a 5-2 game here in the 7th.
Padres still down 5-2. Entering the 8th inning, they rallied. A leadoff walk for Ha-Sung Kim, a 1-out single for Fernando Tatis Jr., a walk for Jurickson Profar. Jake Cronenworth dug in with the bases loaded.
Again, another crack at him here. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Cronenworth muscles it into center field and a base hit. Kim will come in to score. Tatis rounding third. He's going to score a 2-run single for Jake Cronenworth. This is a 1-run game in the 8th inning.
A 1-run game. There were still 2 on base for Manny Machado.
Pitch to Machado, line into left center. That's a base hit. Profar rounding third, going to score easily to tie the game. Cronenworth is being waved. He's on his way. He's going to score. Not only have they tied it, they've come all the way back to go in front. And the Padres now lead it 6-5. A 2-run double for Manny Machado.
Machado comes through with the big double.
Clutch indeed. The Padres offense scoring 6 unanswered runs. The other big story in this game, the great work of the Padre bullpen between Logan Gillespie, Johnny Brito, Jeremiah Estrada, and Robert Suarez. 5 scoreless innings out of the pen, and the Padres came back to win Game 1 of this doubleheader by a final score of 6-5. Now the Padres going for a sweep in Game 2 of this doubleheader, and now going for a 4-game sweep in Atlanta with right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound. First pitch coming up at 3:20 at Truist Park in Atlanta. Let's go to the A.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
We go to Atlanta, Georgia. We're joined by Jesse Agler as we get ready for the nightcap of this twin billing. Jesse, first things first, what did you do between games? You get something to eat?
Yeah, they did a very nice job with the media dining here in Atlanta. So they opened that back up, about an hour and a half ago. And they had a little DIY taco bar. So threw some chicken on a plate, little salsa, and that should be enough to get me through the next couple of hours. So good to go. Kind of updated the notes and the stats, filled out the lineup card, and, now you're just sitting here. And you can fool yourself. Well, you'll know I'm lying, but it's something we can tell the people, Sam. You can fool yourself into thinking we haven't already done this already today. You can just kind of sit here and pretend like you're doing it for the very first time. But, no, obviously, look, it's a different day. It's a long day, but at the end of the day, it's just baseball. And a really beautiful evening here in Atlanta. And, look, these things are always a little bit more enjoyable when the team is playing good baseball. That's one of the wins of the year so far for the Padres earlier today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for Game 2 of a doubleheader, winning in the kind of fashion they did in Game 1, I would imagine it would give that team down there a little pep in their step for Game 2. Obviously, a great opportunity to sweep this 4-game series. Let's focus on Game 2 here. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres, trying to bounce back after a tougher outing his last time out. Chris Sale for the Braves is somebody, Jesse, the Braves acquired in the offseason, and so far he's been pretty darn good for Atlanta.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, I hadn't really watched a lot of Braves games prior to the last few days before we got here, and I was sort of like catching little bits here and there about Chris Sale's having a really good year. Chris Sale's had another good start, but I wasn't like locked in on it in any sort of substantial way. And then diving into it a little bit more, getting ready for tonight, I mean, he's been unbelievable. And so, all those good vibes and all the pep in the step that the Padres have down in the clubhouse right now, they're going to need that and then some against Chris Sale here tonight because he is on about as good of a roll as anybody this side of Yu Darvish, and just kind of overpowering and really, I mean, it's only a month and a half, so I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Right.
But, I mean, he's putting up some of the best numbers of his career in terms of the way he's getting outs right now. He's getting swings and misses at a crazy rate. He's getting really weak contact. He's all of a sudden getting like a ton of ground balls, which hasn't really been his MO at any point, at least in the recent past. And I'm sure a big part of it is he's healthy, fully healthy. And that's not been something that he's been able to say very often in the last few years. So things are going really, really nicely for Chris Sale right now, and it should be a pretty good challenge for the Padres.
Yeah, they're going really nicely for Chris Sale. We'll see how the Padres do today against Sale in the nightcap of this doubleheader. Jesse, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Tony for Game 2 coming up at 3:10 here in San Diego as the Padres not only go for a doubleheader sweep, but a 4-game sweep now of the Braves. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam. Way to hang in there today.
All right, you too. Jesse and Tony doing a great job in Atlanta today, and you're certainly getting your Jesse and Tony fix on this Monday. You've already had one full game, one great comeback win for the Padres today, and now the Padres going for a doubleheader sweep and a 4-game sweep in Atlanta. A lot to do between now and first pitch. When we come back, we'll take a look at the starting lineups today for the Padres and the Braves. Padres going with a few different guys in their lineup today with the left-hander Chris Sale on the mound in Game 2. We'll have an update for you on Xander Bogaerts. Nothing really new from what we heard post-game from Mike Schilt, but we'll provide all the info we have for you. Bogaerts, if you missed it earlier, he came out of the game with an apparent left shoulder injury after diving for a ball during Game 1. So hopefully nothing too serious for Xander. We'll find out all the info on that and much, much more to come. First pitch at 3:20 coming up on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you here inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game, Game 2 of this doubleheader between the Padres and the Atlanta Braves. Padres come in a record of 25-24. Braves come in at 26-17. Padres in Game 1, a massive comeback. They trailed 5-0 after 3 innings. They scored 1 in the 5th inning, 1 in the 7th inning, then 4 runs in the 8th inning, 2 straight RBI hits for Jake Cronenworth, and then Manny Machado. Machado's 2-run double, putting the Padres ahead 6-5. And like we said earlier, the bullpen for the Padres was absolutely terrific. 5 scoreless innings for the pen between Logan Gillespie, the 27th man on the roster in today's doubleheader, Johnny Brito, Jeremiah Estrada, and Robert Suarez picking up his 13th save. 5 scoreless innings. A negative from that game, if you missed it earlier, like we said before the break, Xander Bogaerts, he came out of the game after diving for a ground ball to his left, and he landed on his left shoulder, immediately appeared to be in a lot of pain. He came out of the game. So we'll hear from Mike Shildt here in a moment. We're going to hear about this win, all the good things that happened, also an update on Xander Bogaerts, his status, some of the initial testing they did on that left shoulder. So let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, his post-game reaction after the opener of this doubleheader.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
I know you expect this by now, but all the things that were happening in that game, for that big inning, those quality at-bats to happen, what did you think of the way you guys performed today?
Oh, my gosh. I love this team. I just love this team, man. I love its grit. Like team grit. It's the definition of winners finding solutions. Let's give first credit to the bullpen. Gillespie coming in, keeping it right there. They put some good at bats on Cease. They were able to put some runs up, and but Gillespie comes in, gets a donut for 2 innings, leaves some traffic out there, keeps it at 5. Brito does his part, and then here comes the offense. Let's give credit to a lot of the guys there, even like waiting. The bunt, great idea, get something going, we're down, makes a nice play, Albies gets thrown by Eyelash, but it gets him to third, now ground ball scores him, and doesn't seem like a big deal, but it gets on the board and gets a little momentum, and then, the at-bats later, Kimmy had great at-bats, Pro, as typical, has his good bats, and then Crony, what a sweet stroke, and here comes Manning, doing Manning things, which is really big for us. I think he's been in a good place. Manning's helped us win some games, not only with the bat today, but, he's played some really good defense. He ran the bases really well, too. And I know that's not the sexiest thing people want to talk about, but he scored from second yesterday. He's just done a lot of intangible baseball things that have helped contribute as well. And today he did it with his bat.
Before we get into the pitching, Xander, what's the update?
Well, so far, we're going to get some more imaging, but the initial imaging is negative, so it's positive. He's got stability more than it looked like he might have, and he's got some strength and some range of motion. So, more time will tell, but at least the initial feedback is, initially best case scenario. Shoulder.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you know right away?
You could just tell by the body language, And by the way, huge play, because that stops a run, and that ended up being a big deal. So he contributed in this ball game, and helped us out for sure.
Regardless of who was coming up, for a while it was Wandy in the 8th, and now today it was Jeremiah. Mm-hmm. Did he earn himself more opportunities?
I think he's earned himself more opportunity. I think it was the lane we liked as well, with the handiness. But yeah, he earned himself more opportunities, and there was a good matchups for him.
Dylan just leaving too many pitches where he doesn't usually?
Yeah, I think so. Just not able to repeat. Stuff was good. The basketball had life to it. Slaughter was good. They just they were coming out swinging, and were able to get on him early and ambush him a little bit early in counts, and then he's got behind us in counts.
Jimenez hadn't given up more than 2 runs in an inning all season. For you to get 4 runs off him in that one inning, just how good is that for your offense?
Yeah, it just speaks well. Guys had a clear plan, and then it's a matter of the execution. And he's tough. He's one of their better guys for sure, and has had a nice year. He's a good pitcher. So we just look to take good at bats and get the bottom of the lineup get started, and we turn it over. And Crony and Manny did their thing.
How's Kimmich catch?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Sometimes we overlook it, but always put like a plus defensive play. And I got double plus, could easily got a triple plus. That was an amazing play, especially the timing of it, leading off the 9th, 1-run ball game. What's that? Yeah, everything. Just as good a play as you're going to see. He's the absolute, magician with that glove. It was a big play.
To follow up on Alexander, if follow-up imaging is also negative, do you think he can avoid an IL?
I think it's probably too early to tell. We'll see how he recovers with the soreness, but if the imaging is negative and he recovers well, it is more of a day-to-day situation, so we'll play it by ear. Also, Crony made another nice play in the 9th as well. Big play. So, team win, all phases.
Seems like Crony's having a really good series. I think he has 5 RBIs so far this series. What have you seen from him?
More of the same what he's done this year, just taking good at bats, using the big part of the field, not trying to do too much. Good approach, good swing to match.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after the Game 1 win for the Padres. Come from behind win. They win it 6-5. We'll hear more from Mike Shildt on our post-game show following the nightcap of this doubleheader. And you heard the update there from Mike Shildt on Xander Bogaerts. So again, the initial imaging was negative. That's good news. But again, it sounds like there will be some additional testing, additional treatment here today. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. Obviously, you hope it's nothing too serious for Xander Bogaerts, a very important player for this team, but would appear he would be unavailable for the second game of this doubleheader. And if we get any additional news on that throughout the afternoon into the evening, we'll be sure to pass it along. Now let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We take a look at some Padres in the hot category. Luis Arraez had 2 hits last night, 2 more hits here today, currently in the midst of a 24-game on-base streak, which is now the longest of his career. Arraez entered the day batting .343 in his past 23 games, and like I said, 2 more hits in the opener of this doubleheader. Jurickson Profar, after a base hit in the opener, now in the midst of an 8-game hitting streak, 11 for 28 in that span. Profar's major league ranks entering the action today: 5th in batting average at .335, 3rd in on-base percentage at .422, 10th in OPS at .944. He continues to be sensational. Jackson Merrill, after the doubleheader opener, his last 7 games, now 10 for his last 25. He had a big RBI base hit to make it 5-2 in the 7th inning of Game 1 as the Padres started chipping away at that deficit. In the not category, we take a look at the guy behind the plate in Game 2, Kyle Higashioka. No hits in his last 3 starts. Higashioka batting just .162 in 37 at-bats this season. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 3:20. We take a look at the starting lineups here today in Game 2 of this doubleheader. For the Padres, their lineup looks like this. Luis Arraez at second base leading off. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field batting second. Jurickson Profar in left field batting third. Jake Cronenworth at first base batting cleanup. Manny Machado, the DH, batting fifth. Donovan Solano in the lineup batting sixth and playing third base. Ha-Sung Kim at shortstop batting seventh. Jose Azocar in center field batting eighth. And Kyle Higashioka behind the plate batting ninth. For the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr. in right field leading off. Ozzie Albies at second base batting second. Marcell Ozuna, the DH, batting third. Matt Olson at first base batting cleanup. Travis d'Arnaud back in there for Game 2 of the doubleheader doing the catching and batting fifth. Adam Duvall in left field batting sixth. Michael Harris, the second in center, batting seventh. Orlando Arcia at shortstop in the 8th spot. And in the 9th spot, third baseman Zach Short. Chris Sale on the mound for the Braves. Tough left-hander going up against Randy Vasquez on the mound for San Diego. When we come back on our pregame coverage, we'll hear from today's third baseman, Donovan Solano. Plus, we check in with Padres hitting coach Victor Rodriguez coming up as well. Our keys to the game, a full breakdown of this pitching matchup, and much, much more to get to. First pitch in Game 2 of today's doubleheader coming up at 3:20 on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues on the Padres radio network. Sam Levitt with you here inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for Game 2 of today's doubleheader. Little twin billing on this Monday as the Padres take on the Atlanta Braves. The 4-game series wraps up, and the Padres with an opportunity to take all 4 games in Atlanta. This wraparound series began on Friday. We had a rain out Saturday. We had a game yesterday, and 2 more here today. We'll see how the Padres do against left-hander Chris Sale, right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for San Diego. Let's take a look at the injuries entering this one.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
So a couple of updates on the Padres. Let's begin with the good news, and that's Joe Musgrove is slated to return from the IL tomorrow in Cincinnati. He'll make the start in that series opener against the Reds. So that is very good news for the Padres, getting Joe Musgrove back. Again, we've been over this now a couple of times in the pregame coverage already, but Xander Bogaerts injured himself diving for a ball to his left in Game 1, came out of the game with what the Padres officially called, and this was according to Kevin Acee of the San Diego Union-Tribune, who's in in Atlanta. The Padres calling it mild shoulder inflammation. As we heard from Mike Schilt earlier, the initial imaging was negative. That's a good thing. He's got stability, strength, and some range of motion in the shoulder, and did call it best case scenario right now. So again, sounds like there is more imaging to be done for Xander Bogaerts, and we'll see what we find out really today, tomorrow, what the news is to come on Xander Bogaerts. We've been talking about this throughout the series on the Braves side of things. Austin Riley came out of a game last weekend with left side tightness. He's been out of the lineup throughout this series, not in the lineup for the Braves here in Game 2. Did do some work on the infield before Game 2, according to reports from Atlanta, but doesn't sound like he's swinging yet. So doesn't look like the Padres will see Austin Riley at all in this series, at least at the plate. And that's a look at the injuries for the Padres and the Braves entering this series finale. Now let's take a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We have one other final aside from Game 1 of today's doubleheader. Blue Jays beat the White Sox in Toronto 9-3. Everything else is coming up a little bit later today. Mets and the Guardians in Cleveland at 3:10. Brewers and the Marlins at 3:40 in Miami. Twins and the Nationals in D.C. at 3:45. Red Sox and the Rays in Tampa Bay at 3:50. Mariners and the Yankees at 4:05 in New York. Tigers and the Royals in Kansas City at 4:40. Orioles and the Cardinals in St. Louis at 4:45, Angels and the Astros in Houston at 5:10, Diamondbacks and the Dodgers in LA at 7:10. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Quick look at the scores today from around the major leagues. Already the third out-of-town scoreboard we've done. We don't have much to tell you about as far as the game so far today because the doubleheader today started so early, but I promise on our final post-game show of the day, we will have more on those games because a lot of those games will be in progress by the time we get rolling on our second post-game show of the day. All right, let's hear from Padres third baseman in Game 2 of this doubleheader, Donovan Solano. I caught up with Solano inside the Padres clubhouse last week. We had a really good conversation. We haven't played any of this yet on our pregame coverage throughout the last few days. Solano, obviously a veteran, has really put up some nice numbers over the course of a long, successful major league career. Here was Solano last week on what he views his role is on this Padres team.
I mean, try to help everything I know. A couple guys play every day, so I think I can help those guys when they come to the game, do his best. And I'm ready for lefties. I'm ready for every situation they need me. And right now I play third, so for now, later I don't know if they need me another position, but I will ready.
Donovan, you've had a long, successful career. You've hit everywhere you've gone. Let's start with just the assimilating to all the different teams you've been with. When you show up in a new place, what are some of the keys to really kind of fitting in on a new team?
I try to think of myself like it's still same baseball, it's still same approach, it's still same everything. I don't try to change anything. Try to keep my best and my what I know, what I'm doing, and man, I try to be simple too. Like try to help the team in any ways possible, defensively, offensively, and clubhouse or any teammate I see I can help. And any issues, overthinking, try to overdoing it. So I will come over there and try to, hey, that happened to me in this situation. I try get out that situation like that. So it's something like what I can do, what I can help, how I can do this. So I try to be more in that way, but in simplicity too.
That's the voice of Donovan Solano. My conversation with Solano continued, and I'll give you a little context here. When you walk inside the Padres clubhouse right now at home, you look at Donovan Solano's locker, and a few lockers to his left, the locker of Jackson Merrill. Solano, 36 years old. Merrill is 21 years old, began his major league career just about a month and a half ago at the age of 20. Obviously, he continues to do some pretty great things for the Padres in the early part of his major league career. I asked Solano about how he views his role with younger players like a Jackson Merrill.
If I see something like happened to me in the past, when I come to the big leagues when I have 24 years old, so he's more young. So at the same time, I think it's more hard because his mind, everything is more like pressure on him. That's what I think. But I don't know. Maybe he's more like calm. He's more like chilly. He's more like he know what he doing, and everybody see it on the field because he plays so good. So man, anytime he hit me, anytime he need me, I'll be here. And if I see something, he change something like that or approach, I would tell him because we need that talent every day come to the game like 100% mentally and physically.
Good stuff there from Donovan Solano. That was last week inside the Padres clubhouse. We'll see how Solano does here today in the lineup for the Padres, playing third base and batting sixth in the nightcap of this twin billing in Atlanta here today. Padres going for a 4-game sweep of the Braves. First pitch coming up at 3:20. Let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
We take a look at our keys to the game. Key number 1, the Randy Vasquez fastball. Batters are hitting .433 in 30 at-bats against his main 2 fastball offerings this season. That's the 4-seamer and the sinker. So a key for Randy Vasquez and the Padres here today, how he utilizes that 4-seam and that sinker. How did the Braves hit that 4-seam and that sinker? It's been a problem for Vasquez in the early part of his season. That's key number 1. Key number 2, we focus on a pitch of Chris Sale's. That's his slider. Batters are hitting .141 with 37 strikeouts against Sale's slider this year. Cubs were 0 for 10 against it with 6 strikeouts during his last start. How did the Padres handle that slider from Sale? That's key number 2. And I'll have much more on our pitching matchup coming up in our next segment. How about key number 3? Runners in scoring position. Padres have been far better in that category last night in game 1 of the doubleheader today. 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position last night. 3 for 11 in game 1 of today's doubleheader. The 6 games before last night, 5 for 45 with runners in scoring position. So already the last couple of games, Padres have been a whole lot better in that category. And the final key of today's game, can the Padres do some damage against a left-handed starter? Padres are batting just .211 against lefties this season. the Padres are second to last in the NL as far as batting average against lefties, and that's just surprising. We've been over some of these numbers at length before, but when you consider Machado, Bogarts, even though he's not in the lineup today, Tatis, you feel like the average against lefties should be better than that. We've talked about this a bunch. We'll see if the Padres can get it going against the lefty here today. That's something you would like to see the Padres do better as this season rolls along, have more success against left-handers. And that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back, we'll check in with Victor Rodriguez, Padres hitting coach. We played part of my conversation with him earlier during our first pregame show of the day, but it's some really good stuff. So we'll revisit that here in our second pregame show. We'll tell you what to watch for in this game, and we'll also dive even deeper into a good pitching matchup between Chris Sale and Randy Vasquez. First pitch coming up at 3:20 on the Padres Radio Network. Our pregame coverage continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 3:20, the final game of today's doubleheader. Padres going for a 4-game sweep against the Atlanta Braves. We'll hear from Padres hitting coach Vic Rodriguez in just a moment. First, let's tell you what to watch for in Game 2.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in Game 2. How do the Padres navigate the bullpen in Game 2? Here's why. They used Logan Gillespie, who was the 27th man. Johnny Brito pitched an inning. Jeremiah Estrada, Robert Suarez each pitched an inning. If the Padres have, let's say, a close game late, are Estrada, Suarez, are they available for the second time in one day? I don't know the answer to that question. Now, the Padres didn't use Wandy Peralta in Game 1. They didn't use Yuki Matsui. They didn't use Adrian Morejon. They didn't use Enyel De Los Santos. So there are some high-leverage arms they haven't used. But how do the Padres navigate the bullpen in Game 2 in a close game? They're set up well. They got a lot of arms they can use. But how Mike Schultz goes about it, that could be a big part in Game 2 of this doubleheader. And that's a look at what to watch for in today's game. We played this earlier during Game 1 of our doubleheader, or I should say before Game 1 of today's doubleheader. That was part of my conversation last week with Victor Rodriguez, the Padres hitting coach. Vic had a long playing career in the minor leagues, parts of time in the major leagues as well, from the mid-70s to the mid-90s, and really a great conversation last week with Vic. Here was part of that conversation on his playing career and more.
Well, you know, we started real young at the age of 15 and went through Bluefield, West Virginia, and really play all over the place, and ended up with the Boston Red Sox, and that's after 19, 20 years playing, and got a chance to get out of playing and becoming a coach like right away. So, you know, that's been my life, baseball, from the age of 15 until now.
When you think about your playing career, how does that shape what you do now, helping these hitters at the major league level?
Well, I think hitting is a very fun things to do, very difficult to do, and I think because of that, I always gravitate towards hitting because not only the chance to make a difference as a hitting coach, but a chance to really get to know the players and the relationship that I have created because of the time you spend in the cage with players. It's been very, very thankful that I got that opportunity beside helping them in the cage. The relationship I had a lifetime with them. So that's the fun part about being a hitting coach.
And hitting is so difficult when you see a guy able to make adjustments, have success based on something that maybe you worked on behind the scenes. What's that feeling like when you see a guy go out there, make some adjustments, and have success?
You know, it's a very satisfying sensation when you say something or you remind something, because at this level you have the chance to work with good hitters. And very good hitters, especially in this team in which you have a lot of all-stars, a lot of good hitters. It's a chance to remind them of things they have done and how they did it so they get to going in the right direction. And maybe adjustment here and there that you can see it in-game changes and you see the results. So that's the satisfaction part of the game.
That was Victor Rodriguez with me last week. Nice conversation there. We've played bits and pieces of it throughout the last handful of days. And a big thank you again to Vic Rodriguez, Padres hitting coach, for joining me last week. Good insight there on some of the philosophies that go into being a big league hitting coach. Let's dive into our pitching matchup in Game 2 of this doubleheader between Randy Vasquez and Chris Sale.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Pods, 25 years old. He's 0-2, a 6.32 ERA in 4 starts so far this season. Padres have not won a game that he started yet. Last start a week ago against the Rockies, 3 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs given up. He's made 1 career start against Atlanta, 3 innings and a third, 2 runs allowed last August while pitching for the Yankees. The arsenal for Vasquez: 4-seam fastball, curveball, sinker, sweeper, changeup, and a cutter. On the mound for the Braves, left-hander Chris Sale, the 35-year-old, having a really good run right now. 6-1, a 2.54 ERA in 8 starts, 49-plus innings. He struck out 61, walked 8. Sale has won each of his last 5 starts, a 1.41 ERA in 32 combined innings during that span. 13 consecutive scoreless innings in the last couple of starts. Sale has a 1.69 career ERA in 2 starts against the Padres. Faced them last May, went 7 innings, 2 earned runs, given up, allowed home runs to Juan Soto and Juan Soto and somebody. Didn't write down the other name, to be honest with you, in that start. Manny Machado, though, has good numbers against Sale. 7 for 22 with a home run against Sale in his career. The arsenal for Sale, primarily slider, four-seam fastball, changeup, and a sinker. That's a look at our starting pitching matchup here today. Chris Sale and Randy Vasquez. Pardon me, my second pregame show of the day. I forgot a key detail in my pitching preview. I saw Juan Soto, and then I saw blank. So 2 home runs given up in that start last year against the Padres. You'll have to guess who the second guy that hit the home run was. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. It has been a very good series so far for the Padres in Atlanta. Can they break out the brooms and get a 4-game sweep of the Braves? We're going to find out. When we come back, Jesse and Tony have the starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you post-game. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.